from me was every fight was validation. I need to be fighting better people. I need to be fighting the best people, put myself as the underdog.
It's not a joke sport. You can get killed in this sport. It's not something you want to just gun in for the crack and a bit of a, an Instagram bio.
But at that point, I'd never been stopped in a boxing fight. I'd never been put on my back off a punch. Never been dropped off a punch in my life.
He's Jacobs out. I think he's out. He's done. Pacino does it. That's called redemption, ladies and gentlemen. Cal Pacino.
What did that feel like? Did that not make you feel like a bit of a invincible yourself?
A lion doesn't have to let anybody know it's a lion. Like if you're in the jungle, if you think, no, there's a lion, that's the same with fighting. If someone can have a fight, hand on heart, I'm not a quitter, I never have been. As I say, you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to watch that fight with Nathan Grayson or me fight with Fies Jacobs when I'm getting my head elbowed off to know that I'm not a quitter. It's just surprising how much of a superpower it is. We punch them all out, take them down and do what we wanted of them, and then that was just straight away, it's like, this is what I need to be good at, because I could never let anybody do this to me.
What's been the darkest days that you've had to battle?
I used to sit on the end of my bed and cry, literally made truth.
Did you?
I used to cry and I used to think, like, if this is the life for me, I didn't want to be in it. I've never really spoke about this openly.
So today we are joined by Cal Pacino. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Ed. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you, mate. Unbelievable facility, by the way, I must say.
We're getting there now. As I say, it's took us a little bit to get it the way it is, but the renovations are underway now, so we are actually improving and extending our space.
So obviously in Sunderland, people listening or watching this are going to know who you are. There's a lot of people who know who you are, but for the people who don't know who you are, how did you initially get introduced to combat sports?
So originally I got introduced to combat sports because I was always wanting to box. I always wanted to do some kind of physical fighting. And I always studied boxing when I was a kid. I would always watch old fights and stuff like that. But I never knew of anywhere around the doors that actually had a boxing gym. And I didn't realise there was so many. And one of my friends who I grew up with my whole life in school, he started training at a gym. Told us about it, and then I remember just being shocked. And I was like, "Oh, like you actually, like you just training, you're fighting in the gym." And he said, "I was spar," but I'd never heard the word spar before. I didn't know what he meant, He said, "No, we're spar, and obviously we're training and we're fighting stuff." So I thought, "Oh, it sounds amazing. I'll have a dodge down one night." And then one night I went down by myself, and I had the maddest experience in my life. I walked in, and I didn't know anyone there. It was super like intimidating space to put myself in. I think I was 12-year-old when I first walked in the gym. And for me, I sparred my first session. I didn't even have a gum shield. I got my head punched in by some big kid called Billy. And I remember being in the changing room and thinking, I never want to come back. I never want to bring myself back to this. It was horrible. And then for some reason, I just always forced myself to go back. And that was the start of it. Once I had that little thing, it would be like, no, like, I'm not, like I was scary, intimidating thing, but I just thought I needed to push myself to do it, and it just impacted the rest of my life. It just sort of shaped the rest of my life from then on.
Do you think your parents had out to do with it? Sort of getting back in there and wanting to, because most young kids, mate, at 12-year-old, they tat a few digs to the face and that's it. They didn't want to be seen back in there, do they?
No, I think for me it was just the circumstances I was in growing up and the people I was hanging around with and stuff like that. It actually felt like a good thing to be doing. I always felt like a bit of a dropout, you know what I mean? I was like kind of being in the wrong situations, being with the wrong people, should I say. And then when I started training, I started to like feel a different kind of thing, a different kind of way about myself. I felt a lot more positive, and I felt like I was actually doing something good, and I was having success in it. I was training, and then I was fighting instantly. I got medical card, and then I started boxing straight away, and I had a lot of consecutive wins back to back. So then it was for me, it became an outlet of positivity. And then I seen people's views of us changing as well. Even some of me teachers and stuff, the way they were with us changed. Even though I was a nightmare in school, I kind of got more respect from it, and kind of opened new doors for us, and I feel like that's what it was that pushed us to want to keep going back and every year trying to keep fighting and staying active. I feel like that had a big hand in it.
I think that's what it is. If some kids got discipline, you can tell, can't you? It glows from them, doesn't it? And I think obviously you're saying there about your teachers noticing it. Like, of course you could if you're going there every week and doing that. You mentioned about having them consecutive wins. Did you know you had a talent for this? Because I know where you are now in your profile that you've created for yourself, and you are, and it's undeniable your talent and what you've done in the sport and what you've gone on to do after that, certainly up to today. But when was it when you noticed that you had a bit of a talent for it?
So early on, as I say, as soon as I started training, and then obviously the reception I was getting from the coaches, like telling us things, and And it's, as a young kid, it's hard, especially when you're being someone who had the situation I did, to actually believe it. And it was just more so feeling it myself, sparring with the guy, like the experienced guys who I was, and then being told straight away, oh, you get your medical card, you can fight, and then just giving it a crack. Basically, it was kind of like jumping into the unknown, really. I mean, like, obviously I had opinion of what I thought was tough outside of that, and then when I started getting bashed up in the gym all the time, it kind of made us realise like I needed to do it and get better and better and better. And then obviously when I started fighting, and then my first fight, it was crazy. It was it was a mad situation, really. My granddad was a comedian, and I'd never met him until this point, and he was actually did the interval at the thing. He just got an MBA off the Queen and everything. He did, actually, to be honest. But
shut up, man.
Yeah, but that was the first time I met him. It was my first fight, my first boxing fight, and the guy who was like the founder of the gym I was representing, Sunderland ABC, Bobby Butte, he died, and I got the Bobby Butte Memorial Trophy. I got Best Boxer of the Show my first fight. I had a really hard first fight, and I got Best Boxer of the Show. So then that straight away just instilled more confidence in us, and then I won back-to-back fights after that. Then I won a national title in 2006, and I was still undefeated, and then had a little bit of a lazy spell, I will say, and then I fought one of my close friends at the time, and it was more like a spar match, and then I ended up losing that fight. I was the first person to beat him. It was my 10th fight, and then I went on to beat him after that, and then I went on another 10, and I went to the junior BA final, and then I lost the final, and then see him again, and it was just a continuous flow of like fighting. I would fall in and out of love for it, I would do well, and then I would have a little bit of time off, and then I'd come back out of shape, and then I would lose a fight, and then I would be back, and I'd win again when I was dedicated, and then similar thing. And it was kind of always like that until obviously the end of my career, when I just decided I was just going to stop with boxing. I felt like politics got involved in it, and I didn't really, I wasn't enjoying it the same way as I used to, especially once I started to become more of a man. It was like something I did as a teen, and it was me escape, and then that was kind of what led us to having time off. I've kind of had a bit of a falling out with some coaches and stuff, and then we just kind of was just like passing different ways, just kind of went separate ways, and that was when obviously I found MMA and started fighting in that, and then that was what led us into a whole other side of combat sports. And then once I started to understand or trying to understand jiu-jitsu, that was what just got all of us.
Yo, what's happening, people? If you are liking the episode so far, make sure you click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also press the notification bell so you don't miss another episode. 2006, you mentioned there. I'm trying to do my maths here, so you're 32. What will you have been, about 14, 15 then?
Something like that, I think was in year, well, it'll have been year 10, I think, but I'm young for my age, so I'll have been 14 or 15.
So the reason I asked that is, right, and why it's important that I ask this, right, 14, 15-year-old, when you're at that age and you're the boxer out of your group, you become like, oh, here we go, he's the boxer. Did you get a bit of banter with that? Or how were people around you, like your mates and that? Did you get people taking the piss and that, or was it a bit like, no, he's serious?
Yeah, some of my mates did, but just in jest, like not really trying to be funny, just having a big crack. But like, as I say, like, people would think of you differently, but then for me, was obviously coming from that, you get a false sense of security. I say this to kids who come in all the time. Like, I boxed at a high standard. I know how serious people train. I know how dangerous people can be. But then from coming from that to doing my first MMA class, and then realising it was like, well, I was like a fish out of water. Like, yeah, you might be able to throw a shot, and you might be able to put some power into a shot, but other than that, when someone's got older, if you haven't got any of that side of it, you haven't wrestled, you haven't understood how to stop somebody taking you down, and especially if you haven't got ground skills at all, like not even a basic understanding, if you're somebody who's never trained it, you're as good as dead. And I felt that straight away, because in my head I would think, of what my opinion was, like, you would think you would have a go. And then once I started training MMA and being held down and not having an answer for it, like people think they will be able to stop it or be able to just get back up. It's like, when you feel that, like, as I say, we used to get Dorman come in, these humongous guys, massive guys, and we would come in, and me and a couple of other lads would spar with them, and it's just surprising how much of a superpower it is. We'd punch them all out, would take them down, and do what we wanted of them, and then that was just straight away, like, this is what I need to be good at, because I could never let anybody do this to me. That was my thing. And then it's weird, I've had loads of these moments in my life, like, where I've kind of felt like I've needed to push harder than other people, and for myself, like even losing my last MMA fight to me was when I realised I just wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and I lost my last fight, my MMA fight. It's the first time I've ever been finished in my life, other than me, like I've had a couple of losses in jiu-jitsu now, but at that point I'd never been stopped in a boxing fight. I'd never been put on my butt off a punch, never been dropped off a punch in my life, and I'd never been finished by submission. In that last MMA fight, I got subbed. So then for me it was like, right, I know how good I can be in jiu-jitsu especially, and I know where I'm at. It's just I have to show it. So then that for me was every fight was validation. I need to be fighting better people. I need to be fighting the best people, put myself as the underdog. I need to be fighting these better people to climb the ladder and prove to people I am what I say I am, and prove. It's my own ego, I know it is, because nobody even thinks that I did that deeply into it, but I do. And from then losing a fight by submission, I was like, right, I need to be the best grappler I can be and show people that I am as good as I am. And I feel like as matches went on, I got more and more respect in the jiu-jitsu community, because in my head, I was thinking I'm the MMA guy who's trying to be the jiu-jitsu guy, who's never going to be taken seriously as a full professional jiu-jitsu guy, because I've always had that MMA. But now, after the back-to-back wins against some of the better people who I fought and finishing a lot of them, that felt like every win for me is validation to right them wrongs, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that in a weird way was the best thing that happened, was because once I took the switch and I just thought, right, I went to Norway for a year and I came back and I thought, right, what do I want to do? I want to start my own event. I want to do jiu-jitsu full time. I want to get sponsored. I want to fight on Polaris, Grapple Fest. I want to be sponsored by Progress. These were all dreams. I want to open my own gym. And these were things that I said to Hannah in my sitting room when I come back from Norway. I didn't have a penny. I had nought. And I did say that these are things I wanted to do. And simultaneously, within the year, I did them all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Pretty much a year to a year and a half, I did every single one of them. Exceeded me standards I give myself, you know what I mean? And that was just through just sheer determination and me own ego, because I just want to prove to people how good my jiu-jitsu is and how good it will be one day. And as I say, within that short spell since that fight, I've done it all, and I've even got my black belt in BJJ now as well. And I got it under Ellis Younger and Darryl O'Connell, who are two of the best, most well-regarded black belts in the world, you know what I mean? And so they won't discredit my credibility.
No, mate, I can only say congrats on everything you've achieved, because, like I say, it's one of them people, like, you're one of them people that clearly, when you set out to do something, you are achieving it. Like, it's not like you're just saying it and ballparking it, you're actually getting there and you're ticking them off. You mentioned ego a couple of times there, and that was interesting to me, because when you mentioned, when you got into MMA and you start realising you can put people on the back and this, that and the other, what did that do for your ego as a young lad? Because I remember going out down the town on the doors, I mean, and you'd get into some argy-bargy with a doorman or something like that, and it was always like, you felt like they were, invincible. You, in your early 20s, being able to put doormen in that who have done 20 years on the doors on the back, what did that feel like? Did that not make you feel like a bit of a, like, invincible yourself?
No, more so, I always use this analogy a lot, but it makes complete sense to me, and it always has. I just think the more you understand fighting and the more you learn about fighting, the less you realise you actually have to do it. Like, and especially if it's in somewhere where you're known as well, it's even easier. I mean, it's always easy to avoid a situation, really. Mm-hmm. It's only ego ever really, unless someone's attacking you, it's only ever really ego that makes people fight. Whereas for me, it was the opposite. It's like, well, a lion doesn't have to let anybody know it's a lion. Like, if you're in the jungle, everything knows there's a lion, that's the same with fighting. If someone can have a fight, and it's always the people who can't fight that go out the way to be looking for fights 9 times out of 10. It's more so a confidence issue or a bravado to feel like they need to look that way. Mm-hmm. Whereas if 9 times out of 10, if someone can have a fight, they're not really trying to have a fight, you know what I mean? They didn't need to prove anything to anyone, or they know the severity of actually having a fight, There's loads of times. I know people personally who's done time for being stupid and having fights, and bad things have happened, like, for me it's like, why? I'd rather not be known as somebody who's a good person who didn't have that kind of let's say a false respect about them, or bully respect, where people think they've got friends and they haven't really. I'd much rather be known as a guy who's a cool kid who would just rather help people and be in a situation where I would avoid a fight all the time rather than having to prove a fight. If I'm going to have a fight, I don't want to have to be looking over my shoulder. If I want to have a fight, I want to be making money from it. If I'm going to be paid to have a fight and it's a decent fight and it's fighting somebody who's a professional, who's dedicated their life to their craft, and it's going to be something that's going to be like a feather in my cap, then that's what kind of gets me fired up, and that's what I want to fight for. I want bragging rights. I don't want to be known as anybody who's ever that kind of person. I'd much rather just be welcomed, and when I walk into a room, feel like people are glad I was there, rather than walking in a room and feeling like people's backs were up and it was uncomfortable, because I didn't live that kind of life. I'd much rather sit and have a laugh with everyone, you know.
It's so interesting you said there about the more you learn about fighting, the less you need to do it. And I can tell just by, obviously I've known you a number of years now, Cal, but I can tell just by sitting here, you're definitely more mature than what I thought you would have been. Now, I know you're 32, you've got 3 kids. You know, you are a bloke, like, I'm not forgetting that. But when I listen to the way you talk then about the line and the analogies you've used, you're clearly sort of versed in the things that you know and what you want to be good at. And I think the spin you've put on the ego thing's really, really nice to hear. And that's why I was smiling when you were talking there, because I feel like a lot of people get into MMA, and this is just what I say, it's not a sport that I do, but I watch it and I think, actually, I see people who want to get into MMA because they want the title of I'm a cage fighter. Yeah. And I feel like that's the wrong reason. Really, if you look at yourself and the things you've went on to do and achieve, more kids need to be like you. They do, and that's not me trying to like say, no, I'm not trying to blow smoke, because ultimately, it's not a joke sport. No. You can get killed in this sport. 100%. It's not something you want to just go in for the crack and a bit of an Instagram bio. You didn't want that.
That's it.
So for you, when you were sort of doing that and getting more serious in it and understood that actually you're aware of your capabilities, what you can do in the combat world, did you ever get tested on the streets?
There's a few times I've had to have a bit roll about and that, but as I say, 9 times out of 10, for me, I feel like I've always been a diffuser. I mean, obviously everyone has their moments where you can't really avoid, but as I say, if you can kind of limit them, even it's stupid, but even like daft things, like there's someone started on me mate the other day outside of my event when it was last in Sunderland, who wasn't even at the event, and he's tried to take Dazzy down, and Dazzy sprawled him and bashed him up, and it's like, even in a fight where someone's attacked him, it's like, he's hurt his knees, I've sprawled on the concrete, he's punched him, so he's hurt his hands. It's like, why? Now, if I can avoid it, I will. I mean, obviously, if someone's going to come and try and do something to my family, or well, I'm in a situation which is unavoidable, then of course, you know, like obviously, as anyone will, they defend themselves. But as I say, I'm not looking to. I didn't even really like when people say I've been there loads of times, and people think that's what you want to when you're outside, say social events and stuff. People think like that's what you want to talk about because that's what you do as a sport. But for me, I'd say I'm not really. I don't know. I just like the psychological side of it, and I like studying it, and I like just basically battling against myself, because at the same time, no matter what anyone says, like everyone who's fighting scared. You know, it's not. It's an electric thing, and it's amazing, and it's such a special thing that you can have the chance to do. I would advise anybody to try it one time, to have one actual fight against somebody. And I don't mean just some knacker who's being pulled in from the street. I mean like actual fight against someone who does it, because I feel like it's good, win or lose, to learn that about yourself and feel how alive you actually feel, because it's a terrifying like thing to endure. But you get better at it. So like the pressure gets worse, but you get better at handling the situations. And I feel like it's, for me, that's what I always loved about it. I feel like for me, as I say, I'll use the ego again, because I fought from such a young age and being in big situations that are young on coming through. I feel like I already had the upper hand. I feel like I could handle big situations well. And I would see other people in the change room not handling them not so well. So then to me, I'd be like, well, the nights when I'd be losing sleep and leading up to fights, and I'd be terrified, basically, sweating and panicking and thinking, no, like I am going to win. And it's hard to sometimes, and even though you're telling yourself, you're believing in yourself, you're confident, it's still sometimes you've that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind. You think, God, I kind of picture myself winning and stuff like that. And then, so that for me was what I loved about it, the like battle against myself, and then coming out the other end and telling myself, you were right, you know what I mean? So that was what made me fall in love with it and pursue it as hard as I did.
But you're only human, though. You're always going to have that doubt. I say this all the time. I mean, mate, I've worked with some of the best athletes around the world in different, certainly in the fitness industry, in the boxing space, whatever it may be. And even MMA, I film with loads of MMA guys, and I look at it, sometimes I'm thinking, I can't believe out of all the videographers in the world have picked me to come and do this. And even I feel like an imposter, so I'll doubt myself. But really, no, but you deserve to be here. That's what I keep telling myself. So when you get that win and your arm does get raised, this is a lad who's fought since he was a kid. This is not just a lad who has done a bit of training. Do you know what I mean? There is a difference here. And what fascinates me is how naive I think the real world are when it comes to fighting. Like, if you've never had a fight, even if you did a bit of boxing, you get into... you know what I mean? A scrap with someone like yourself, like it's not going to be it's not going to be their night, is it?
It's like the way I say it is, right. Obviously, it's bravado. It's males being males. You know, it's like there's nothing really else in the world, in my opinion. There might be some things. Maybe I'm not educated enough to know, but for me, the way I always say it is, fighting's usually the only thing that people think they're going to be good at without ever learning to do it. You don't watch tennis and think, oh, you know, he's Federer there. I could beat him. But yet you'll watch a fighter who's a professional who's trained his whole life and watch and say, oh, he's not as good as blah, blah, blah. I reckon I would do this. I've heard it loads of times. People, and I'm looking and they're not. You're talking about professional boxers, not or saying about how bad their skill level is. One of my close friends was saying it about Joshua before, and I was like, well, he's a champion of the world. And he's won the Olympics. Like you didn't. It doesn't matter what weight he is or who he's fighting. You know, any fighter who's in front of you, of course, he's the level he is, and it's not warranted. You can see his crap, or you know, you can see your little footy team's crap, whatever. But it's like, well, you're not the one out there doing the work.
Do you ever think that though? You know, when you're watching something, but I know you've been through it, but do you ever watch someone and go, I could have done that a bit better there? Because you've actually practiced in that area?
I think sometimes it's more so like, it's easy to see that when you're not the one in there, like that's why cornermen are there. Because sometimes when you're the outside perspective, you can see things that they can't, hence why you have a corner team when people fight. But you got to think, right, there's so many variables when people are in there, you know. It's easy to think, oh, wow, he's done that, he made that mistake. God, he's not that, he must have good. But you got to think, there's pressure. You don't know how bad their weight cut's been. You don't know what the outside variables are. You don't know what's happening in their personal life outside of this. You don't know. There could have been any amount of things, you know, and especially when you're in there and you're the one fighting, the risk factor of, or even not even attacking the way you should, and maybe like, so say loads of things, you know, if you've got that fear of getting tired in the back of your head, sometimes that causes, you know, I've done it, I've lived it, and I've took fights and I've been in fights and had opportunities where normally I would have jumped on things and bottled it. Like, say, my first fight in South Africa, I fought at altitude and we only went out there just before, so I didn't have much time to acclimate, and I did a big weight cut, and then I'm fighting at 6,000 foot above sea level in Johannesburg, and then first round I was exhausted. Normally I'm fit as a lot. First round I was exhausted and I locked the arm bolt when I even bottled attempting to finish it for this fear of burning my arms out and building up that much lactic acid that I wouldn't be able to recover and then potentially getting hurt because I knew I was failing in there. So there's loads of variables that go into it. So I try to try and stay away from thinking like, oh, I maybe do that in there. Obviously, sometimes if I'm watching and see things and think, oh, what might be a good option for them to try or whatever. But as I say, it's hard because you're not the one in there. And even little things, mate, like even as I say, like certain people, you can watch a style and you can watch that fighter and put them together and think, well, oh, this is his attributes and ways to win. And they get in, and the simplest little things, the feints might be thrown off his movement, the range might be changing something, you know, there's so many variables. And as I say, that's why I love it so much. I get passionate when I think about it, just because there's so much goes into it that most people don't see, you know, like they only see in the light, they don't see what happens in the shadows, you know, and that's...
Mate, you can talk like in terms of the I can sort of, it's weird when I'm talking to you. It's like I can picture where your mind is, like how your cogs tick. Like you doing what you do, I see you. Like it's weird, mate, because I actually said this to Joshua's coach, Ben Davison, and I actually said this to him. He's like a scientist, and I've been in the gym with him when he's been in a stupid o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till late. Did you watch it?
I watched it.
And it's a bit like with you. Like you really are a student of this, and obviously jiu-jitsu, but the way you think and how creative you are, and the fact that you're full of tattoos. And now a lot of people go, well, he's full of tattoos, but I can see the creative side of that. The fact that I came in, what were you doing? You were playing your guitar. When I walked in here, you were playing your guitar. Mate, I didn't know you played the guitar. But it makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying? That makes sense. Now, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but the pursuit of doing what you're doing is a creative entity, doing exactly what you've done and how you've got onto it. What's really exciting for me is how you're also an entrepreneur, businessman as well. Like the facility you've got, the things you do, and the tournaments you're putting on nationwide now. You know, the people who know about you, your profile that you've done it all off your own back. So I think sometimes you've got to just, I know you might have done it, and obviously you've had your three best moments of your life when you've had your kids, but you've got to just make sure you take a step back and go, do you know what, like, I'm doing all right. And I think that's really important. Do you do that?
I do, you know, I get counselling. I do counselling every now and again. I'll book a session with my counsellor and we'll come in, we'll have a bit talk. And the one thing for me that I have always struggled with is... like feeling content, and I know it's stupid, but for me it's like I always have these moments in my life that I build myself up to, right? And it's weird. It's like everything is on the back burner. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like it's not even in my head. This is my target, and this is what I've got to do. And I'll strive to do it. Or say sometimes I might fail, but sometimes I might do them. And once I do them, it's weird. Like even the same night, it's mad. I'm in a different mind space. It's like I can't. It's like once it's done, it's so short lived. I feel like a certain way about it, or I'm really overcritical about myself. And once it's done, it's like I need the next thing, and it's bad because these moments where I should be like, you know what, I hit that target. Well, like when I beat Saul Rodgers, that was a big one in my head. You know, Saul Rodgers has been someone I've watched for years. He's an ultimate fighter and a massive name, and I actually said the way I was going to beat him. Months before I'd even accepted the fight against him. I didn't think I would ever get a fight him. It was just mad how it came about. I was sitting with Ellis in the gym, and I said, Ellis had asked us, who do you want to fight this year? Is there any big names? And I said, Saul Rodgers. And Ellis said, that would be a really hard one, wouldn't it? Saul's a nightmare. Like, Saul is a nightmare. Saul's a beast, and I knew that, and I knew the risk. And then by chance, I got offered him not long after, a couple of weeks, a month after or something. I got a message, do you want a big match, main event on the show? 100%. And a debut show against Saul, who's renowned for being a nightmare to submit with leg locks. And Ellis had asked us with them when we were talking about it, how do you think you beat him? And I said, hey, Luke. And I thought I could beat him with Halo. I didn't. Obviously, you never know. But I thought if I had a chance, this would be the chance. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't saying I was going to beat Saul. I knew how tough Saul would be. You know, 9 times out of 10 we could fight. There could be a million different things happen. But that one fight that I had, that did go that way, and I submitted him. And even that, for me, I should have been. You know what? I should have been like, you know what? I was a brown belt at the time, so was a black belt. And he fought Ryan Hall, somebody who I'd studied since I was 17-year-old, one of the best leg lockers in the world. And so it was Ryan Hall, I know it was in an MMA fight, but Saul Rodgers still didn't get a leg lock by him, and he had 10 minutes. And so for me to do that, it was like, you know what? That was finally one of them moments where I felt like, you know, people might actually start considering us as one of these higher level grapplers in the UK now, if they already didn't. And then that same night, it was gone. As soon as it's done, I'm at the door and I'm thinking, what's next? And that's why I fill myself time with so much other things, guitar, riding bike, motorbikes, cars, whatever I can do to film. Because for me, it's easy for my mind to drift. And if I haven't got targets, like, I'll fall off. And that's why now I'm so grateful that I have got so many talented guys and ladies here who are under me. Because even when I'm not competing, I can live my life vicariously through them, because every weekend I get the same buzz when I see them, and the game plans are going to the way we're planning them, and they're getting the finishes against good, tough opponents as well. Nobody's had an easy match for me yet. And I
think that's why football managers gone into football management, because I think they can't. It's sort of, they didn't want to relinquish that, you know, them wins, them victories. You know what I mean? Like, everyone wants a W, but you need to just have them moments. I was going to ask you, because when you said that, mate, the hairs on my neck are up, you know, because I'm exactly the same. So I'm very driven when I get me, you know, if I want to sink my teeth into something, nothing matters, and I'm exactly the same, mate. I was going to ask you, have you got ADHD?
Well, here's a funny situation about that, actually, right? So, remember when all this stuff happened with my brain scans and stuff like that before? So I've never actually been tested for that, although people who are specialists have said, "Oh, you should." I've never really went for a screening or anything, but when all that stuff happened with my brain scans and the Custers, the fight with James Gallagher originally, and they basically ruined my career at the time. So what I found out about myself is that so a small percentage of the world can be born with a gap in the frontal lobe of their brain, but by adulthood, that frontal lobe gap, when the brain grows, usually compresses and is pretty much gone, or if not gone. But that's just a small percentage of the world who are born with that gap. But an even smaller percentage of the world are born with this gap, and the gap never leaves. And if the gap is always, if they still have the gap by being an adult, that can cause a lot of ADHD, OCD, all these different tendencies. And just by chance, look, obviously, I'm one of them who's still got the gap. And that's why the brain scans, when I got all that fight pulled and stuff, was because of that. Because originally, when my brain scans from South Africa, they didn't announce that was there. And when Bellator did the scans, eventually they said it was there. So they were thinking it was massive amount of brain change in such a short amount of time. Basically, it was getting the start of Parkinson's, all the things like this, because it was brain deterioration. My brain was separating. When actual fact, I already had this brain gap, and I'm one of the very minute percentage of the world who still have the frontal lobe gap, but they just didn't announce it in the first one, and that's where the worry come in, and that's why they basically canned us at the time, because of thinking I had brain separation.
If you don't know by now, I run a business called The Content PT. I create content for influencers, PTs, online coaches and fitness brands all around the world. So if you are someone who's in need for sexy content for your social media, or you really want to maintain a competitive edge in your industry, drop me a DM on Instagram. It's mad, isn't it? Because it's quite polarising or quite contradictory of itself, the kind of mindset that people like myself and you have. Because if you look at, here's one for you, I'll just tell you a bit of a, I don't know who it was, mate, but I think there was some writer and he put in a book, and basically he used to go on holiday with his missus every year, right? And he used to go on this balcony. And the first thing he'd do when he got on this balcony, so what he'd used to do is he used to book holidays in advance, right? So he'd give himself something to look forward to, because that's, and I'm the same, right? And this is why it related to us. When he got onto the balcony, he turned around to his missus. The first day they got there, the first hour, they got on the balcony, right? And he turns around and he went, I think we need to book this place again. It's amazing, isn't it? So for that night, all they did is sat and booked it. So they're not living the holiday that they're booking in advance, but they're already there. And I feel like it's the same as with you. With Saul Rodgers, the same thing. The things you're doing, you know what I mean? Whether you're going out on the bikes, you're doing this, that, and the other, your art, no matter what it is, it's almost like you're not even, it's like an out-of-body experience. It's almost like...
It is.
And that's why I'm interested in coming onto this podcast with you, because I want to know, who is Cal? Like, who do you think you are? Like, is it the guy who fights? Is it the businessman? Is it the creative? Is it just a sensitive lad from the street?
I think, to be honest, I think it's all them things. I think it's just, for me, is, I don't know why, I need to always be busy. It's a shame as well, because a lot of the struggles I've had in life come from this as well. Mm-hmm. Like, I always feel guilty about certain things. Like, I really struggle being present in the moment. I've got that much on and that many different projects and that many people constantly talking to us and trying to work things out, or projects we've got coming up, that I never really get the chance to live in the moment. Like, even like, as I say, like, trying to go away and not be on my phone is like even just anxiety thinking about it, because I know how much I need to be present and doing that, but I just struggle, like, even just enjoying the simplest things. So I sometimes beats us up a bit, you know. So that's why a lot of the time, if I can, I try and just give myself a little bit of time during the days. That's why I've got so many other coaches in there as well, that give myself a bit of freedom, do my bits and bobs with the kids, where I can try and be present in their moments, and then I come away from that, and then this is the mindset I'm in when I'm here, and vice versa, rather than just being freewheeling it. Because if I'm just left to my own devices, I'm the most impulsive person you've ever met. And like, as I say, like, look at the place, you know what I mean? There's a BMX there, there's decks, there's guitars, there's weights there, there's anything you can think of, and it's just basically to keep us busy. Because if I'm just left to my own devices, I get just stir crazy, mate. I feel like I'm not comfortable in where I am. It's weird. I need to be busy with something, you know.
Mate, everything you're saying just so bing, bing, bing. Everything you're saying, like, I've just been away there for 2 weeks, mate, and I even booked in a 2 week holiday. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do 2 weeks. And like, and our last was like, it's 2 weeks, man. It's 2 weeks out of your life. And I was like, no, but it's 2 weeks. I don't know. And it got like the fourth day, and I was like, I need to check. I had some DMs and I didn't want to open them because I didn't want people. So I was like, can I get into this? And if I open it, it's going to start. And
then it's in your head.
And then it's in my head. Then so like a couple of the days in my own head, although to everyone else they wouldn't have known, but I ruined them in my own head, which is like, it's so sad. And because obviously I've got a little girl as well, and it's like, looking at you, what are you like to live with? Are you a nightmare?
Oh, I am the worst.
Because if you're never present. What's it like?
Autopilot, mate. That's what I mean. Like, I try my hardest. Like with my kids, mate. Like, there's no denying. Like, I absolutely adore them, and I just smother them with love and affection every time I'm with them and I see them. But it's just like the logistics of stuff and that I struggle with, and I am an absolute nightmare to live with, because I'm such a space cadet, and by that I mean, like, just if there's something in my head, this is how bad it is. I can be sat and someone can be talking to us, and it'll not even be in my head. And I have to it's actually hard work, because I have to switch on to what they're saying. And while I'm talking to them, there's something become in my head, and I'll drift away and I'm staring at the ceiling. And then before I know it, or I'm thinking about some mad fight that I've had or something, or some transition, or some match that I want to have that's potentially coming up, and thinking of ways to beat them. Or it can be anything.
With anxiety or not?
Sometimes I have done a lot in the past.
Because they say that, don't they? They say, like, people who have got anxiety, it's because you're trying to almost create scenarios in your head to solve.
It is. I try and premeditate everything I'm doing, and I can't. I know I can't, but it's just how I'm programmed. Like, I really struggle in, say, like, if I went to London, I've got loads of friends in London who I should be going down and seeing and training with, but I just hate London. I hate being there. I hate how busy it is, and I hate people being honest. You know, when you're walking around, people are bashing into you. Like, I went to Bruce Springsteen, and even just walking from the turnstile to the pitch, I ended up shouting and arguing with somebody because he's walking behind us and bumping into us and standing on my shoes and right in my face, and I don't know. So with that kind of thing, or like big moments like that where I know, so say if it was an event in like a pub or something, and I knew there was going to be loads of drunk people there, like I hate stuff like that. Like I'll go if it was one of my friends or something to show support, but if I can hit the Bermuda toilet at some point in that thing and say I'm going to the toilet and just disappear, that's what will normally end up happening, because I just struggle with it, you know, like I don't know why.
What's it been like growing a profile, Cal? Like in terms of getting known, getting recognised? How have you dealt with that? Because obviously, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to use the word celebrity, but ultimately, mate, you've created a name in the fight game. I mean, there's no one who I know in Sunderland who doesn't know you.
It's all right. As I say, like it just goes hand in hand with what I'm doing. I feel like the more my profile grows, the more people I can help. So that's for me why I would like to keep growing my profile, keep pushing it, and keep getting bigger and bigger and more well known, because I just know I can do a lot of good. If I had a big following where I would go out and do more things and get more endorsements or open more doors or grow my gym more, I know that there's more kids that I can help and more can give back. Like,
so it's a bit of a daft question that then, but if there was no social media, would you have still pursued the road you went down?
100%. I just think social media's had a good hand in helping us. I think what it is I think it usually tends to work for people who are authentic. You know, I feel like if people are not trying to be themselves, trying to be a certain way to try and do it like unauthentically, I feel like it never really works. But I feel like if you just are yourself, I feel like people relate to it. Like as I say, like I've got 3 kids, I run multiple businesses now. Yet I didn't hide who I am, and I'm not. But I didn't watch any of my stories. Just see some of the mad stuff. I get it in. I just feel like it's just who I am. I don't really hide anything. There's no hidden agendas. I'm not fake. I'm not this way on doing this, and then some way I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy.
How does it feel
have a laugh
when you see that? I've got multiple businesses to run. Does it feel mint?
It does, mate, because as I say, like it wasn't even long ago. Like I've tried everything. I've been up, I've been down, I've been up, and I've been back down many times. And as I say, like it's nice to be in a position now where it's been like, you know what, you banked on yourself every time, even when the chips were down and you had an out, and to finally be back in a position now where I can help people. Like as I say, like there's multiple people I sponsor now, you know, and to be someone who was on the receiving end of that, and knowing just how much these sponsors, even just the smallest ones, did and really benefited me and kept me in the game when I couldn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So now to be in a position to do that for some kids and to be opening doors for some kids as well and doing it right, you know, like I always say, it's something I stood by my whole life, and it's train where you celebrate it, not where you tolerate it. And I feel like every single person who comes in this gym, whether you're a day one person or you're somebody who's been here like your first session or you've been here from the start, you get treated with the same treatment and you get celebrated. And I feel like the more I push it and the more I do well, the more that I can do. So that's my aim, and that's why I'm trying to just stay as active as I can. Like, I don't drink anymore. I've quit drinking. That was a part of us, that I would have a drink and then I'd go and have a party to celebrate, whereas I just feel like that was just taking too much of us, and I just feel like that was setting us back. So I've canned that. I don't drink anymore, and I feel like I'm just around positive people now, and everything's it's productive and it's good, mate.
Unbelievable, mate. It's unbelievable to hear, man. I love that. Just another lad, like we said before the pod, just another lad from the North East having a go. Do you know what I mean? It's like no one knows where it's going to end, but you've got to just have a go. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's unbelievable. Like when you were fighting, because you're not from money, are you?
No.
You know when you start getting paid in the fight game, what did that feel like? Did you know how to manage it, or did you just spunk the lot?
Absolutely blasted the mate, I surface friend. It's just, for me, it was because like I was working when I first started MMA. I was working a job I hated. I used to sit on the end of my bed and cry. Literally, made truth.
Did you?
I used to cry, and I used to think like, if this is the life for me, I didn't want to be in it. And I used to think like, what can I do?
Was this while you were doing MMA?
Just while I'd done MMA, while I was first starting, I hadn't even had a fight yet, and I was thinking, what could I do? So then I left to train. Didn't have nothing, didn't have a penny to my name for years, and then I turned pro. And then I quit, and then I just had 4 years off, because it went from being a hobby that I loved, that was keeping us on the straight and narrow, to then being something that I felt like a job, and then I lost the love for it, and then I took 4 years off, and then I came back, and then again, and then I was fighting on the other side of the world for peanuts, and then I was have you putting captions in that? I hope that doesn't change that to penis. It was peanuts, by the way, because it does sometimes. I was like,
I want to make sure it's penis.
Peanuts. But now I was fighting on the other side of the world for pennies, let's say. And And I was working Friday, Saturday and Sunday night shifts at Tesco, getting no sleep all weekend. And then the Monday morning, after 3 hours of no sleep, I fell asleep behind the wheel multiple times. I would drive from the Tesco's in Newcastle to wrestle at Seam on the Monday morning after 3 nights of not sleeping. And I was fighting for a world title. And then I was getting stopped by kids in the street out there, taxi drivers asking for autographs and photos and stuff, and then coming back and being spoken to like I was nothing. And then, so for me, then I did it again, because hell for my family, put my family through hell. And I had a daughter at the time, my youngest. She was me first child at the time. And I just thought that was it. And I was like, well, I need to be doing this, because at the end of the day, happiness is paramount. And if I'm not happy, you don't know what you're going to do, so I'd rather have nothing. And I did put my family through loads of strain, and then I started fighting, and then the fights would pick up, and I was making money. And then obviously the lockdown came, and I was getting paid what I was, and then lost that. And then so I put the rest of my money into courses and went to Norway for a year and then come back. So every time I was up and down and up and down. And as I say, the first real one for me was, other than like making a couple of grand here and there, was when I first fought for Bellator, and then I first got my decent paycheck when I fought Nathan Grayson. And then the first thing for me was, you know what, like after all, like everyone who doubted his family, like loads of, not so much me dad or anyone like that, but like let's just say people around us doubting us and stuff. And then to be there and then be like, I was right, you know what, I'm going to make a change in my life, and all that sacrifice and all that hardship that I caused with my relationship and everything is worth it, because I went out and bought a new car straight away, a family car. It was a heap of crap really, but I loved it, and I bought it with cash, so I was just buzzing with that. And then time and time again, and then obviously the first time I got a big one, I was like, right, what do I want? I want a Rolex and I want a nice car, so I went and bought them, blew it, and then I was just like, because I never had anything, so when you get a lump of cash, like, you don't know how to manage it. But you know what, like I used to sit and think, you know what, all that money that I had at the time, I could have done X, Y, and Z with, but then if you had it again, you wouldn't have lived it any differently.
And you only think the way you think now because you did that.
And now that I know that, this is why this place is the way it is now. Yeah. Because if this was reversed and this was what I wouldn't have this. No way.
Well, you could have lost this if you did have it.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. So them life lessons that I got from being in them positions and then being back down and hard on me luck again was the let's say the things I needed to be able to be in this position now, because now I'm so much more business minded now. I'm so much more things working for us, and everything I get goes back into this place. You know, like as I say, like, we had a target what half before Christmas. I hit it in November. I put that all back into the gym, every bit of it, upgraded it, as I say. When you've came in there today, we've just extended. We're extending again. I've got more money to put in to build more mats, and we're going to really make this a special facility. And I want people to know that when they come in here, like, the gym in its future is paramount to what I'm trying to do. You know, I'm not looking for a quick couple of quid. I'm looking to build a future for people and open doors for as many people as I can. That's my plan.
Unbelievable.
As I say, I sponsor multiple kids in here already who some of them potentially haven't got the money to train, so I set all the incentives for them. There's a couple of them playing the mats to be able to train, and I try and help out where I can. You know, I've give loads of kits away. I've give all sorts away. I give people get geese all the time anywhere we can. Like, I feel like we are doing something good, and people see it and it's authentic when they come in and they want to be a part of it.
And this is why more people need to be coming here as well. Do you know what I mean? If you're watching or listening to the podcast and you're from the area, obviously for me, because I'm from Sunderland, I can feel it. I know the good you're doing. Whereas, like, if I was doing it with someone in London or something, you didn't really get to see that. They're just talking about it. But when it's someone like yourself, it's like, it's very nice to see that someone's doing that, and that's their full focus.
Yeah.
I want to talk, it doesn't necessarily have to be MMA days, mate, because I didn't want to make it all just a pure MMA podcast. It's more about you and obviously your upbringing and all the rest of it. What's been the darkest days that you've had to battle? Whether that been like...
darkest days I've had to battle. Probably the darkest days I had to battle, probably when... Well, before my mum died, when my mum first got really bad when we were stuck in Cyprus. I had a bad ordeal out there because we were out there for like a month while my mum was on life support. That was bad. But other than that, like, obviously... My dad's mum, my gran, she passed away, and it was around about the same time that my mum went in a coma. And then obviously my mum passed away. So even still now, it's still the same struggle. But a long time after that, like when I had that fight with James Gallagher, was probably the darkest time in my life. Like I wasn't really doing anything. I was just being a wreckhead basically. And I was just fatting out of shape, and all I did was just pretty much just like, I was just an idiot really. Like that's the only thing that I really had. That fight with James was the only thing that really gave us any kind of reason to get out of bed in the morning, you know what I mean? So like I'd be in the house with the bands, and even though I had Jesse and Tommy at the time, it was like it just wasn't enough, if you know what I mean, as cruel as that sounds. And it was just like, whereas that fight with James, there'd been that much build-up and that much hype and that much want for so long, it was just like, that's all I sunk my teeth into, really. And just, even as I say, it's the only fight, even hand on heart, I've never really spoke about this openly. I might have mentioned it like recently, but as I say, it's something that I had to come to terms with. Like, I've never quit in a fight in my life, ever. If you watch me fight with Nathan Grayson, I took the most savage beating in my life. Elbowed me head off, punched me head off to pieces. I was hurt going into that fight and did a huge weight cut, and I was injured, like as I say. And he punched the living daylights out of us, and I got through that, and I still won that one. That fight with James Gallagher, I had never even got touched. Maybe a little elbow on the side of my head once, but other than that, like, there was nothing really happened. I was just not at a good place in my life, and I got in there when I felt all right. Did a big cut in that, but it was just no different than any other fight, and he was just on me back, and I remember it was mad. The first 2 chokes he had on us were actually way tighter than the one I tapped to, but I was just done. I just didn't want to fight, and even I tell myself that in the fight. I know I still haven't even watched that fight back, ever.
Have you not?
I never will.
You cannot?
No, I cannot, because I know what I felt now, and hand on heart, I'm not a quitter. I never have been, as I say. You didn't need to be a rocket scientist to watch that fight with Nathan Grayson or my fight with Fies Jacobs when I'm getting my head elbowed off to know that I'm not a quitter. But that was just it. I was just done. I was just so sad, and just it was just like, for me, it was just an epiphany.
It's a spiral after that.
It was an epiphany, and it was, you know what, I even said, even after all that beef I had with James, well, the first thing, and he'll verify this, you'll probably see it if you watch the thing, the first thing I said when I got up, I shook his hand and I says, look, regardless of all the stuff we said aside about each other and that, like, that's forgotten about, you know, like, shake me hand, like, I appreciate it, because having this fight with you is the only thing that got us through that period of time. You know what I mean? And it still hangs over us, you know, as it does. But as I say, like, I feel like for me now, it's more so like, I just think about my kids, and I just think I want to be the best role model ever, and to show them, like, no matter what cards you dealt or whatever your circumstances have been growing up, like, you can make something happen for yourself. And I just want to be a good role model. That's all. But I think,
but by win or loss, you are though, aren't you? Because good friend of mine, Maxie Hughes, he just took a sickening loss over in Vegas, and he had the headline fight in Vegas. His name was up in lights. It was his coming out party, really, to be fair. And he's went through the boxing route the long way, mate. He's had it hard, and he lost that fight. And the next day, mate, they went back to the villa in Vegas, and I seen him. Obviously, his face was bust up and all that, and he was chucking his kids in the pool, and they were all laughing. And I said to Maxie, I went, mate, that's unbelievable. And I said, why did you do that? Why did you put that story out? And he went, mate, do you know how important it is? Because I didn't want them to see their dad moping around, even if he's been done in.
Yeah.
And that, for me, I was like, I actually felt fucking tearful. Even saying it now, I was like, and with the James Gallagher situation, again, like, that, for me, that's not the moment that would define you. It's all the other, like, that's just fair enough. It might have been nice if he won the fight. But, and I know it's obviously deeper than that to you, but for you, was it a sad time because you lost the fight for your ego, or was it a sad time because your trajectory would have been, like, did you have different plans? Like, this is where I'm gone.
I had different plans. Like I already said, like, I'd already been told who I might potentially be fighting next had I won, and it was an undefeated prospect who was a world-class athlete as well. So I was thinking, like, them are the fights I've always wanted, you know, and to finally be in a position where people are holding me in the same regard, that was like more validation again, you know, to be like, just to I don't know why, just for my own thing, just to be like, you know what, you bank on yourself and you follow the path, even when everyone around you saying, like, things like, there's never going to be any money in that for you, and you shouldn't be doing this, or you started too late, and then that. And I think now, like, some of these people are my friends as well, and I think now I'm 32-year-old, and I know people who's older than me having the best years of life now in their careers, and I think, God, if I was to say that to a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid now who's walking in the gym, you might potentially lose the next world champion. Like, that's complete wrong mindset. I think age is completely just man-made, you know. Like, as I say, one of my friend's dads is 67-year-old or something, he's a purple belt, and he's an absolute savage. Like, there's no age on it, you know, it's just you're as old as you feel, and if you look after yourself properly and do things right outside of training, then you can have longevity and you can have long careers. So as I say, like, I always had doubters and stuff like that. So that for me was like, I knew how much more I was going to potentially be able to earn and what would happen in my career and the trajectory I would have had I won. But even still, that wasn't the thing that sickened us the most. It was more so the fact that, like, I did it, and it was just like something that would have just been like the icing on the cake, and maybe closure as well. Might have been a bit of closure for the loss of my mum, you know, because that was all, as I said, that was what I put my life into, training for that fight, like, not moaning, moping about, trying to keep everyone else around us up, you know what I mean, and just doing my own things behind closed doors. But, like, for me, it was like, I think that was just like what I was just for that little fairy tale ending in it for us, maybe. But as I see now that I'm older and wiser, let's say, that was like probably a gift that had happened to us. Because had I not have went that way, it wouldn't have led to me transitioning full time to jiu-jitsu. And jiu-jitsu is the thing I've always loved most about MMA. Even though I come from a boxing background, I love a sport. I love to still have a mess about, but I love jiu-jitsu the most. And that was just the epiphany that I needed to happen to make us go this route eventually in the long run. You know, it was mad. Like, I went out of nowhere for a year, put the last of my money into myself, never trained for a year, smoking tabs and everything, just being a wreckhead, working on sites in Norway. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, it just come over us. I just thought, I'm going to get the works van. I'm going to drive an hour and a half or wherever it was to this other place. Didn't even have to speak English or not, because not everyone thinks they would speak English in Norway. Some people do. But we were in the mountains, not many people did. So I drove to this random gym, messaged them, drove to a random gym, hadn't had a reply, and I turned up, and then I seen the class was on, and I went in. And many of the people there didn't speak English, but the instructor who was teaching the class did, and asked us a bit about myself, and I started talking to him, so I ended up showing some techniques in the class with him, and then I rolled with everybody. And I just ended up having the best night ever. And I texted Ellis and I said, Ellis, I'm back next week. I've been to this gym and trained. When I come back, I'm going to go full time. I'm just going to train full time with you. I'm not going to do any MMA. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to give jiu-jitsu everything I've got and be the best I can be. And that was when I went there, and I had my first competition straight away. I was fat as out. I had my first competition within that 2 weeks as being back. Ellis even paid for it because I was looking for a way out. I was thinking, I haven't been back long enough to be fit enough and ready and that. And Ellis was like, no, I do it. And I was like, I don't know. I've got the money. And then Ellis was like, I've booked a comp for you. I've paid for it. I was like, So I kind of let him down. And then I ended up doing a tiny bit of weight it was the same day of weighing. So I'm in the place just before my match, running around in the sports hall, hoodied up and that, rolling in the gear, everything, trying to get the sweat on. And did it. And that was it. And then I never looked back. That was it. And it changed the rest of my life. And as I say, I know without question I'll be doing jiu-jitsu every day till the day I'm dead.
See, that's why even someone like yourself who've had the ups and downs in the road, though, like, you should be just having a go at anything like that in Norway. Mate, you could have been, what we doing, rope access or something in Norway?
I working on the blades in the mountains.
Working on the blades in the mountains. That could have been your life. But instead, you've got your own gym, your own facility. You're obviously working with progress. You're doing all the things you do when you're keeping the lights on. You're helping all these people, like, all from, I'm going to drive an hour and a half. Like, I know it's not all because of that, but you know what I mean? Like, it ultimately shows that if there's ever an opportunity or somewhere you think, I don't know whether I should do it, just gan for it. What's the worst that can happen? Do you know what I mean? Do you get the biggest buzz off when a kid comes in the gym? Do you get the biggest buzz off just because you know that they're coming here, or looking for the potential to take this seriously?
It does, because I think for me, obviously both are nice. Seeing people who have got potential, you know, some people are more naturally gifted than others, you know, and that's what you find. Like, as I say, I used this about, and I'm not mind saying this is about Jordan Sawyer the other day. I've trained with Jordan Sawyer for about 6 or 7 years, and Jordan would come in and he was inconsistent. He would train for months and months and months, then he would fall off. He'd have an episode in his life and he'd fall off, and then he'd come back. So, like, as regards to getting a BJJ blue belt, he's warranted it many times over, but it was the consistency thing. And then he would but then the last year he's been nothing but consistent, and then and so it was that, to give him that was just that little bit of thing, there's the consistency. So when I see people who, there's normally a turning point. Some people come in and they get hooked straight away, but some people there's normally a turning point. Like, they come in and they might be struggling a bit, and then they might say John James, prime example. He would come, he was consistent all the time, but he just had bad luck in his matches, you know. He just had bad luck, and he was getting so much better and better, but then he would lose, and he never won a match. And then I took a really tough fight for him for a super fight on my event, submission series, against a kid from a good gym, and he just, that little switch just clicked, and that for me, that seeing stuff like that, that's when it becomes.
It's like special. You know the pins dropped, you can see it.
And it's such, I get goosebumps thinking about it. Like, it's such a buzz for me, because it's like finally they get that experience, that win that they've worked so hard for, and then it's a spiral, it's a snowball effect, because once they get that little glint of that confidence, like, you'll see it time and time again. Like, if you look on Merlin Walls now, I share his videos all the time. That's there now, and it's just like it's the snowball effect, and it's growing and growing and growing. And now look at the back-to-back wins. He lost one fight. He got put to sleep in the final the other day, the British Open, and he was killing it, having multiple submissions that day, looking great in the final, and got caught. other than that, his last 7 wins back to back have all been submissions, and he's killing it, and he's fighting like top kids. He's doing amazing, and that for me, Josie, another example. Seeing her success. I've Josie sponsored now, Merlin sponsored, Drew sponsored, Dazzy sponsored. I'm pushing for more of the guys to get sponsored off different brands and trying to give back, and it's working. And that for me, that's what gets me buzzing when I can see like the success is coming for them. Like I wanna open as many doors for them as I can, because as I say, it's a 2-way street. The better they do, the better the gym's rep is, and for me, I want to give them as much as I can to make that like. That's why I still compete, and that's why I compete as often as I do, and against the caliber of opponents that I do. Because what's the worst that can happen? I get caught. Like my last match, I get subbed. All right, well, what happens there is I get subbed. I set precedent because people see how I react to a loss, and then what I do is it just ignites a new fire in us to be better, and I'm straight back in the gym. Also, whatever I've been caught with then gets practiced in the gym to negate it happening to their guys in here. Yeah. So then they instantly win. Do you know what I mean? So it's a win-win.
And you're leading by example.
Exactly.
Yourself in there,
exactly.
At that level.
Showing them that like how to get on. You know.
Can you spot straight away, Cal, when someone walks in the gym?
Sometimes I can. Yeah. Sometimes I can. There's a couple of guys who's in at the minute, and to be honest, look, there's one of them at the minute so he's joined the full-time team now. He did the last beginner's course, so it was only that.
Have you just put him on your story recently?
And he's absolutely flying. Like Johnny Greenwell's another one. Johnny Greenwell did our last beginner's course, right? Competed straight away as soon as the course was done. Jumped in a comp, and he's lost like over 3.5 stone already, man. He's 90 kilo now. He looks like an athlete, you know.
See, that's what it's about.
And Johnny's a teacher as well, so that just shows people, you know what, like. You can come from anything. It's men, women, doesn't matter your orientation, anything like that. It's for everybody. It doesn't matter about your size, your weight, your age, none of that. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody, and I pride myself on being a place what is welcoming for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. There's no politics here, and I swear that. Like, you can come here and you can be a full-time member and train anywhere else you want. Do what you want. I'm not bothered if you come in here. You're gonna get the same treatment. We're trying to build something special, you know. And as I say, I've been in gyms everywhere my whole life, and this to me is the most welcoming place you'll ever get to visit. It's for me. I see it all the time. Every day in here is Christmas. We come in, and every single day in here is special.
See, and I think what you're doing with the brand, and well, it is a brand now, isn't it, really? And then you're doing these comps nationwide, and you're literally putting on for Sunderland and all the lads you're working with all hour. Mate, it's fucking unbelievable.
Try
it's unbelievable. No, mate, you'll be buzzing with that. What's the future for Cal Eleanor or Cal Pacino? Where you going?
I want to be regarded as one of the best black belts in Europe one day. Hopefully I can make that happen. And I want Exile Jiu-Jitsu Academy to be renowned as a world-known gym one day. And it already is world-known in Jiu-Jitsu, to be fair, mate. As I say, I've had kids from the other side of the world message. Our video of progress did mad numbers. Our video of Red Corner MMA is viral again. You know,
we're talking 8 million views here, aren't we?
So no, the sub-series. So Aidan Woodley's sub-series, 8 million. Aidan Woodley on sub-series, one of my teammates at North East Jiu-Jitsu, when he fought another one of my good friends, Dave Weston. The highlight reel of his submission at the gyms at the event. He got his leg snapped or a hair look, and that's had over. I think it's like 8 million now. But we had our progress videos had 400,000. We had Red Corner MMA once well over. I think it's nearly 300 now, and like the flying, you know. And I feel like it is growing, and people are knowing about our gym, and it's going the way I want. The trajectory is awesome if you think about it. It's only just become a year. I think it was a year last month that we're being open. If you think about how widespread our name is already, I feel like it is coming, and how many of our athletes are sponsored. And I think give us another couple of years, and I feel like we will be a well-regarded gym around, especially from being from the northeast of England. I feel like we are trying to change the game a bit.
Unbelievable, mate. Final question. Want to talk about bare-knuckle boxing? Obviously. Right.
Rico, Franco was actually a good friend of mine. I've trained with Rico.
Yes, he did mention you when I had him on the pod. He speaks very highly. He did.
He's a good lad. I've got no respect for Rico.
He's a lovely lad, and he's been through the bloody works, hasn't he?
Mate, as I say, he's
But what do you think the future of that is, of bare-knuckle boxing? Because obviously seeing like McGregor and that getting involved with all. Do you think that's where money's gone again? You're going to see bare-knuckle boxing in Saudi? Do you think that's the place to?
I hope so. I think anybody fighting in any fighting sport, if you think about, let's say, money for value. If you think about football players, now I know football's a serious sport. When you take it serious, it's like anything. It takes severe, like dedication, hard work, sacrifice. 100% I know. It doesn't matter what sport. If you want to be at the pinnacle, that's what it comes down to. Who's working the hardest, who's turning up when people are having days off, like the sacrifice, losing family time, all this. Like, that's a massive factor in it. So I'm not disrespecting football players. But if you think about the hardship you have as a fighter in any sport, the diet, the mental battles, the fear, the time lost, like all the hardship, the injuries, and at least you can have a football match, and if you lose, you can fall back on the rest of your team as well. As everybody let us down today. It wasn't just me let us down today. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a hard thing. You can fall back on your team. You all share that kind of upset. Whereas when you're a fighter, all the pressure is solely on you. And if you're not feeling great, your training's not going right, your mindset's not good. You know that you're going in there under the lights where everyone's watching, where you're going to get hurt as well. Where the panic of getting hurt badly is there. It's a terrifying ordeal. So in any fighting sport, you should be paid well. Like, I'm talking any fighting sport. If you're at a serious professional level, I don't mean your domestic shows when you first turn pro. No, that's when you find your feet. But I mean, if you sign to a leading organisation, say like Rico and people like that, like, they should be paid mega money, because at the same time, longevity, bare-knuckle fighting, you're getting serious lacerations every fight. Your hands, you're not wearing gloves. Yeah, you got support on your wrist. You're not really wearing much on your nose. Your knuckles are getting smashed. You know yourself, you've probably punched someone or skew whiff in the town. You've smashed the sides. That's every fight. You think longevity. If you're risking the scar tissue and all that for one fight, you've seen one fight in that, mate. You come out, you look like you've been attacked with a bat. Do you know what I mean? So you can't have a long career in that. So if you are fighting in that, and they want the entertaining fights, they want the Artem Lobov, Jason Knight wars, where the Rico fight, Jimmy Sweeney, prime example, not to plug Rico too much, but as I say, he's a warrior, he's a good friend of mine, let's use him as a reference. If you're having them fights all the time, your career's not gone long. But if you're given that inch of flesh, that pound of flesh, should I say, sorry, that inch, they're giving that extra inch for them, pushing it, and you're going to have them wars, then you should be paid that way. So when it is all said and done, you've got a nice nest egg to sit on. I feel like, and if the viewership is growing and the McGregors of the world are getting involved in it, more power to them. I hope that they do. And that's why I respect Jake Paul so much, because he's an advocate for pushing for better fighter pay. And anybody who disregards that, it's not really about fighting. Because if there's no wages, one day there'll be no fighting. Because people like it as a sport, but do you know what I mean? If you want all the coverage and you're trying to get up there, then everything should be back properly. People should be better supportive of them. More people should be willing to sponsor younger fighters. More people should try and help them. It's a prime example of this, right? So you know how McGregor, credit to him, changing the game, awesome. But I fight on a big jiu-jitsu show, right? I've got a professional no-gi title on Chaos Grappling in Ireland. It's a big. Conor McGregor used to fight MMA on them cards right back in the day. It's where he used to have his early pro fights. In one of his highlight reels, you can see it. It's an amazing place to fight. When I go there, right, so you've got the Jordan O'Neills of them, you've got the, let's try and think of some other ones. There's some really good non-Irish kids who's just turning pro now, right? When they fight, we're in Belfast, all the locals around have like parties for them, all the community supports them, there's banners around the streets for them and everything. And that's where it should be. Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you? These are the people who you're backing to potentially be the next. So why wouldn't they should be the same here? And instead, it's kind of like not supported. So for me, I think anything should like that should be massively promoted. I think bare knuckle is an amazing sport. I feel like it's always entertaining. It's always entertaining. You kind of disregard them because it's a hard way to fight. You'll always see good boxers who try and transfer into bare knuckle struggle because they're not having a boxing fight. They're not taking one. A lot of these bare knuckle fighters are happy to take a shot to land one. Do you know what I mean? You'll not see many boxers doing that. You might see the odd brawler who's a boxer, but you'll not see many stylistic, tidy boxers. That's why you see the likes of Malinaji and people like that trying to move in and not winning, because it's a different style of sport. You know what I mean? I feel like they should be paid massively, and I hope to see it up there with the biggest sports in the world, because the bigger that gets, the more people's pay rises, and I think that should have a massive push.
I'm going to have to quickly ask you, Jake Paul.
I think he's a superstar. I've got nothing but good things. It might be a sociopath or whatever he is.
Do you think it's... I think it's sad Mike Tyson doing what he's doing.
It is.
Personally. To see someone like him.
It is.
Who I've admired.
He's my hero. I've got him tattooed on the inside of my bicep. I love him.
So I do see it's sad, but then on the flip side, I also understand if the money's right and he's doing it, then it's up to him, innit? Like,
another way as well.
And how do you think How do you think it's going to go?
Right, so obviously for me, I think the main factor people are not looking at is, so see if you're Jake Paul and you're fighting Mike Tyson, right? This is the thing. If Mike Tyson was fighting someone similar age as he did his last fight when he fought however many years ago it was, he's not going to get tired the same way as he would fighting Jake Paul. When he's fighting Jake Paul, he's a lot faster, he's hitting a lot harder, he's got youth on his side, and when you've got somebody who's fresh like that and younger than you by that many years, all them punches are going to get Mike Tyson tired a lot quicker than what they would if he was fighting somebody his own age. I hope Mike Tyson can pull back the years and get him put away early, maybe a nice body shot, hit him, come on, maybe finish him with a body shot, amazing, because Jake Paul's young enough to recover from that, and he's got the right mindset and the right people around him to just instantly be back, build himself back up to that spotlight. Mike Tyson gets iced, which he probably will. I'm going to call it. I think Jake Paul might knock him out later on, maybe early on. I think that probably is what will happen, but I would love to see Mike Tyson do it because, as I say, I'm a massive fan of both. I think Jake Paul's doing an amazing thing. He might, as a person, I don't know him, but from what I see, he looks a bit like a sociopath, who knows. But in regards to fighting, there's nobody that can, I had this argument the other week, nobody can discredit saying, the only reason he's there is because he's got money. It's like, do you know, people don't understand what it's like fighting with pressure. And the amount of pressure that man has to endure every single fight is exponential. It's crazy. Do you know? And that's what the side that people don't see. He's changing the game. He's fighting for people to get better wages, trying to build, basically, to get everything for the UFC fighters, like aftercare. He's got some really good morals and he's pushing for it. So that, for me, the more people like that, the better. Like, he's putting bums on seats, whether it's for YouTube boxing or not. Boxing gyms are getting busier again. The sport's growing, so whether you like him or you're a fan of him or not, there's nobody. The only people who see negative things about him are people who are jealous of his success.
I agree. You think Jake Paul's going to knock him out early doors?
It might not be early doors. It might be when he's tired.
People are saying though Mike's going to be told to kind of lay low a bit. Like, is that? Do you believe that?
Nah, I think Mike Tyson, the person he is, he'd come out and try and put him away if he can. Like, it's like saying to a wild dog who's in there with a steak in his cage, saying, "You're not going to eat that." You know what's going to happen if Mike Tyson gets in there. And I hope that does. But this is when I was talking to you about variables earlier. What you have to think is, is it 8-round fight? If you have to think there's 8 rounds that Mike Tyson has to stay fresh. Mike Tyson comes out and he's a ball of fire. If Mike Tyson goes out and puts it on him early on, doesn't put him away, he's going to get tired. So that's in the back of his mind. So is he going to come out aggressive and try and put him away? Or is he going to be fearful and keep energy for the later rounds? Who knows?
But you're putting your money on Jake Paul.
I'm going to put my money on Jake Paul. I hope I'm wrong, because Jake Paul, as I say, can come back from a loss here and still get away once they get. And Mike Tyson, I don't want to see a legend get the same history repeat. You know, it's like cattle. Humans are cattle. They'll have somebody who's a big name here, who's a lower risk fight, so it makes sense mortal-wise, and they'll put them together. So hopefully the system has failed this time and they've put the wrong person in with Jake Paul at the wrong time in his career, but I don't think it will be. I think if I was a betting man, which I am,
I'll be betting on Jake Paul to finish him on some way, but I'll hold on. Carl, cheers 3 times. Pleasure, appreciate it.
So if you've enjoyed this conversation and you like things like this, make sure you click up there and watch this episode.